All right, so onto our exclusive story now. SABC News can reveal how Dr Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo allegedly swindled a high-profile doctor of millions of rand. In an exclusive interview with the SABC, Dr Mmereka Ntshani, popularly known as Dr Pashy, tells of how Dr Magudumana allegedly lured her and then set her up with TK Nkwana, an alias used by Bester, claiming that he was her business partner in America. She claims that she handed her 2 passports to Magudumana after the two promised to assist her in securing the required documentation to host a women's empowerment conference abroad. Magudumana was found in possession of Dr Pashy's 2 passports in Tanzania after she and the convicted rapist had in fact fled the country. Dr Pashy has since opened a case of fraud, theft, forgery and uttering against the two. She also tells SABC News senior reporter Chriselda Lewis of how Bester would sometimes communicate with her video call in various occasions.
Dr Pashy, when did you come to meet or know of Dr Nandipha Magudumana?
I met her on social media around 2015 and we had similar interest. Of course, we're both medical doctors, we're family women, we love fashion, travel, and our devotion to God, you know, it was literally her biblical verses on Instagram that she would post, and that would literally draw me to her or draw ourselves to each other. And yeah, we just clicked and we started DMing and it went into WhatsApp.
Let's just go back. So you met her on Instagram round about 2015. Did you immediately exchange numbers or contact details? And then would you then say your relationship turned into a friendship?
Well, we were DMing, you know how the app works, and at a later stage, of course, we exchanged numbers. However, I'm busy. I don't really have the most balanced schedule. I'm forever entangled in you know, competing priorities between my medical practice, my community projects, and my family. So I never really had time to meet up in person. Instead, we would, you know, opt for synchronizing our red carpet appearances. So we'll meet up at events, but never at a closed space, as in at our sacred spaces or our homes, no.
So after you two were DMing each other, she had contacted you on direct message on Instagram, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you would meet up on or at social gatherings of common interest, if I could put it like that. Yes, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So let's fast forward then to, according to what we understand you told police, is that she then expressed to you an interest to work with you via a media company that she told you that she owns.
Yes.
Talk us through when that was and how this business proposition came about.
Well, through our WhatsApp conversations and calls, we grew close, and I've learned that she's a woman of God, a pastor's daughter. So we became close, and in 2020, this is February of 2020, she told me that she owns this media company, and then it's got the international leg as well, where the chairperson is TK Nkwana, and then she exchanged. I gave her permission to give TK my number, and he called me, introduced himself as the CEO of Vibes California, New York, and London, and we spoke about my brand, which is centered around women empowerment, which is centered around philanthropy, and how they can actually expand it and how they can actually help me you know, fund the work that I've already been doing with the foundation. They then promised that they can bring the likes of Oprah Winfrey to be at like your conferences, your woman empowerment conferences. I agreed to that, looking at the fact that Oprah Winfrey is a woman who inspires me the most, and you know, we've been literally living off her motivational quotes, whether it's in life or it's in medical school. So besides, she has planted a seed of philanthropy in the children of Africa, and in South Africa as well. So I felt like it's our responsibility as the younger generation of women to carry on that legacy and to pave it forward. So yes, they brought the proposal, we signed contracts, and yeah, we started working from there.
So you are saying that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana had forwarded your number to TK Nkwana.
Yes.
And we now know that it is one of the aliases used by Thabo Bester. And then, after there had been this communication between yourself and this TK Nkwana, who did he say he was?
He said he was TK Nkwana, a South African businessman who's now based in the US, and he said he had good relationships with the likes of Oprah Winfrey, as he was also a part of the team that was organizing her coming to South Africa for the Global Citizen. And yeah, that was TK Nkwana, and even the contracts, everything is like US and London, so that's...
So the promise of helping you establish business in the United States of America, that is what they used to lure you, you say?
Yes. I had this idea of having a brand that grows outside the Dr. Pashy name. So the Power Woman brand was birthed in response to the need for positive female-centric spaces and the need to empower women both academically, economically and mentally. And I wanted to ignite fire in every woman to step up and, live in their full potential.
In this communication with TK Nkwana, is this communication that was happening consistently? Was he constantly giving you feedback about this so-called assistance that he was going to provide? And at the time, were you also in conversations with Dr. Nandipha Magudumana on how this grand plan was going to be executed to give your brand international status in the United States?
Yeah, well, I was in contact with both of them, especially when, things will be delayed, and then I would go to her, we'll pray about it. I would call her and we'll pray about it. And I was in constantly contacted by TK to give me the feedback, because I wanted to know, every move, where we are in terms of the conference. We have paid the speakers, we have paid the venue, which was it was supposed to be in Senton, but because of the delay in the vaccine rollout in South Africa, then we took it to the Staples Center in California, and then we paid for the stage, for the disaster management system, and for the ticket sales system. So
this happened over a while.
This happened over a while. Remember, we were locked up during COVID. Yeah. That's when I was a frontliner, and in my I was a frontliner, I was busy in the front line, and I knew that I've put somebody that I can trust on the program, which is Nandipha. This is a medical doctor. Being a medical doctor, it automatically comes with principles. You are in a principled career, in a career of value and ethics. So I didn't think that in any way there was a way that she would sabotage me, because she had a lot to lose. There's a career, and she had, she had her own things, and she was going to lose all of that for, sabotaging me. So I trusted that she was going to do as we agreed. So yes, I was in constant contact with TK Nkwana. And
then came the requests for money.
Yes, all the things that I said, they were requesting funds. Remember, when you do events, you find that the sponsors, they want you to cover the bases before they can come with the sponsorship. They want contracts. For you to get a contract with a speaker or with service providers, you need to have paid them something so that you have an agreement, and then when sponsorship comes, then you can pay the rest. So the money
also sent you contracts. TK Nkwana sent you contracts.
Yes, there were contracts.
Which, by the way, the SABC has seen. Those contracts clearly were dubious. They were bogus contracts that were sent to you under the guise that this conference was going to happen, clearly.
Yes. Yes, there were signed contracts by Own Network, signed
Oprah Winfrey's network.
Oprah Winfrey's network, signed contracts by the Oprah Winfrey management. Gail King was going to be one of the speakers as well. There were contracts for her, it was a lot.
You'd also been promised that this whole women's conference, that allegedly you would get the opportunity to work with Oprah Winfrey. And I mean, part of the studio that you've set up, in which we're sitting in here, is part of what you built because of this grand promise that was made by Dr. Nandipha as well as TK Nkwana. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, well, in retrospect now, because things are now in the open, now you know what TK was doing, what Thabo Bester was doing. So in retrospect now, around the time of the escape, that's when now money was needed to complete the security system of the ticket sales system. So on around the 3rd and 4th, TK was in a meeting with Oprah Winfrey, with Oprah's lawyer, Salma, Garen Salma, and the other one, Tamara, and the other sponsors, because they wanted us to complete the system and they wanted us to build a studio where we can host the Power Women Africa. Power Women Africa is a talk show where I would have conversations with some of the most powerful women in the continent.
So this conversation that you had with TK Nkwana was on the 3rd and 4th of May.
Around I remember in retrospect now, when things happen, you go back, you check. On the 2nd of May.
The 2nd of May was the day before the escape.
On the 2nd of May, I just remember just sending him a message that it's a holiday in South Africa, because I think it was the holiday on the 1st that moved to the 2nd. And then the 3rd of May, we couldn't really talk much because he was going to be in a meeting, in this big meeting, which was tough because of the demands and because of, the toughness of the meeting, because we were supposed to finish with the ticket sales system by the 5th of April. So these delays were disrupting everything.
So a day before, what we know was the day that Thabo Bester escaped from the Mangaung prison, is the day that you were in conversation with him, not knowing anything.
Not knowing anything. It's only now in retrospect you go back to the messages to see where Power Woman was at the time.
And then when did the alarm bells start to ring? When did you realize that something was drastically wrong here?
Well, to be honest, things were moving. Things were moving, though it was moving in a background of forgery of things. But then on the 16th, that article that came out, and that's when that was a shock, like a shock of my life. So at that time with the conference, we were about to launch, and he was in the US and he was supposed to come to South Africa now to help with the logistics, moving to launching of the Power Woman conference. And then remember, he also had my my passports at the time. This is when now I'll get all of those things, traveling documents and everything back from them.
Dr. Pashy, at what point then did you hand over your passports to Dr. Nandipha Magudumana? Because obviously the person you were in conversation with on the telephone was believed to have been in prison, but you didn't know this.
So my passports left me on the 19th of January because 2023, because they were organizing my working visa in the US. Remember, not only was I going there to do an Power Woman, but I wanted to visit hospitals to be working there as an anesthesiologist. So my qualifications were required, my passports, a lot of things were required that I handed on. Because I was busy on that day, I couldn't meet up with Nandipha, so she sent the driver to fetch the passports on the 19th of January.
And you handed the passports over to them?
To the driver, yes.
And the one passport, why two passports?
It's two passports because the other one, even if it was expired, it had a valid US visa. Remember, here we were applying for a working visa. That was just a traveling visa. So for me to get that, I had to, this is what they told me, that to give them the one with the working visa, the one with the active traveling visa, and my active passport, which was the one that she was caught with. And anyway, to expand on the passport one, that passport I did after finding out what was happening. Of course, I went to do an affidavit, and I did another passport. So when I did another passport, I cancelled that passport. So when she was caught with that passport was like a piece of paper, because it was, if anyone could have just bothered to scan that passport, they would see that is not working. It was like having, being rich in Monopoly. It was not working. The important one at that time actually was the one that they said it was not important because it had an active US visa.
And then for all of this, I understand that you paid millions of rand. Can you confirm indeed that this is true?
Well, it's true, but I can't at this point disclose how much was paid when, because this matter is still under investigation.
Would you say more than 5 million?
Chriselda, it's still under investigation, and to actually, the police, I'm sure they're actually checking the movement of that money, and I'm still in consultation with the lawyers in terms of the criminal charge. I laid a criminal case, and we are busy with the civil cases to try to recover the funds.
But you can confirm that it's millions?
I can confirm that, yes, it's millions.
And who did you pay that money to? Because obviously it needed to be paid into a certain account.
I paid it into the Vibes South Africa account, which is an account owned by Dr. Nandipha.
This would include, I understand, these millions for a so-called private jet that was due to bring Oprah Winfrey.
Yes, it included that. And that was, the Oprah jet was just before COVID, just before the lockdown.
And you paid these monies. Why? Why did you feel the need to pay this money, even though you say you trusted Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, but obviously the requests had been coming from TK Nkwana. You had not met him face to face. But in hindsight, Why did you pay those monies into that account?
I paid that money into that account because it was an account that belongs to someone I trust, someone I hired to take care of the business. And this is somebody who has her own money. So you don't even think that, you know, and remember, even if I was in conversation with TK in terms of the business, this is still Nandipha's business, and we communicate with Nandipha. There are contracts that were brought forward. There are a lot of emails, communications that were brought forward in terms of, okay, this is how much is required, then you pay this, you get an invoice to see the confirmations that this has been paid for this particular amount. So it was a transaction that was going smooth in terms of you're seeing the results, and then it was only now when they had to deliver that they got exposed.
Then you saw this article involving the names of Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo Bester. That was the first instance, you say, when you realized that something had gone terribly wrong here.
Yeah, it was... Have you ever felt like you woken up to another realm of existence, and it was scary knowing that you have been dealing with people who are so dangerous, like with that danger of that magnitude? It was scary for me, and yeah, my life just changed. Everything changed. I was living in fear because you don't know where these people are. They are at large at that point, so you don't know what could have happened to you in this journey. You don't know the end, you know, their end plan of this journey. So it was scary for me. I lived in fear.
After you had found out about Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's alleged involvement in all of this, did you try to contact her as well as TK Nkwana, who we understand, of course, is the alias, one of the alias used by Thabo Bester? Did you contact them?
Well, I did contact Nandipha. Her phone was off, but then before it went off, she spoke about how this is all wrong. It's, you know, as if they are trying to accuse her. And I did forward the article to TK that this is what they are saying about Nandipha. And it's only later when his brothers, when Nandipha's brother's message was circulating that I then saw that this is TK. This is, yeah.
It's Thabo Bester.
That.
And how did you feel at that time?
Scared. Numb.
Do you feel betrayed?
Of course. And betrayed is an understatement. Yeah. Yeah. It's life, what can I say? So yeah, it's been a roller coaster since then, because now you are scared because you have these people who are at large, and they could probably silence you just to, you know,
after you had contacted them, sorry to interject, Dr. Pashy, after you had contacted them, did they threaten you?
Well, they accused me of working with the police. They accused me of feeding the police with information, and I got scared. And there was a point, of course, when it was really bad, when they were contacting me. And
who is they? Dr. Nandipha and TK Nkwana.
Now known as Thabo Bester.
And after they'd been rearrested and you heard that Dr. Nandipha was found in possession of your 2 passports, that must have come as a terrible shock to you.
It did, because I thought maybe she had left them in the house or something. So for her, when they said they were arrested, I felt a sense of relief. And a few hours later, news broke that she indeed has my passports. That was horrible. That's where now my nightmare came in, because her having my passport was being interrupted as if me abating them to escape. And it was even worse when the minister misinterpreted the whole thing with the false information that he was given. A man of his caliber with the leadership position, he's got the power to change perception. He's got the power to clarify the narratives. But on that day, that power was used because of the false information that he had. He took that information and maliciously cast aspersions of criminalities in my name. He literally fed me to the mob of, digital stone throwers, digital mob justice. And as if I actually gave them the passports so that they can escape. And that as well came with a lot of noise, a lot of pain, not only for me. My mother's health was affected. My son was being bullied around. And me as well, having to deal with journalists, going to wherever hospitals that they might think I'm there at that time. It was really horrible. It came, and I couldn't work at the time because I had to take care of the legal issues. And you are seated there with your lawyer consulting, and then...
Yeah, you had actually also... written a cease desist a letter to the minister. Subsequently, he apologized for saying that you had to post an affidavit, but you felt that the damage had already been done.
Well, I actually appreciate that he did apologize. That for me, it's a reflection of good leadership, trying to acknowledging that you are wrong and actually apologizing on the very same platform. However, there's a lot of damage that was done, and there's still a lot that needs to be fixed. I mean, my son is going through therapy because he was told that your mother is involved in crimes because the minister had said so. So for me to wanting to take legal actions I was not only doing it for me, I was doing it for my son, for the truth to come out. I was doing it for any other woman who has been misrepresented, who don't have a voice. I was like, you know what, I'm going to reserve my rights to actually use any recourse available in law. Then he apologized, and then I just let it go.
Is it now, have you buried that hatchet?
With him, yes, I did.
There were times when he video called you. Where was he?
Well,
what did it look like? And when was this?
This was over time, 2020, 2021, 22 as well. He would be in various locations, sometimes in an office, sometimes in a yacht in the middle of the ocean, sometimes just in the streets, just walking around. So he would video call from like different locations. But
this is someone who was supposed to be in prison, but the backgrounds...
That is what beats me up to today. Like, yeah. So,
how has all of this affected you?
Emotionally, I'm not okay. I'm in therapy right now. Obviously, the journey with Power Woman, this was a journey during COVID actually, and then when COVID now is over, then you preparing to launch and all. So it came with so many obstacles, so many, it was a lot of things that were happening that were really draining, not only financially, but yes, mentally as well. It's something that I actually gave my soul to. I've worked heavily on these projects, on everything. You know me, I'm that kind of a person who puts everything in all I do. I took classes for presenting, for for producing, for just being like pre-production, production, speaking. I took classes for all of that in preparation for the Power Woman talk shows and seminars and everything. And I can't really say that I am walking away empty-handed. There's a lot of pain, yes, but there's a lot of positivity that came with the painful journey. I mean, I'm a mentor, I'm a motivational speaker. When I stand in front of the people and narrate my journey, there is so many lessons that a lot of people can take from my journey.
And on that version, Dr. Pashy, that was almost sabotaged by what has transpired. Someone who you say tried to lure you as a friend, took your passports, and was found in possession of them in a country where it's still not known at this stage how she arrived in that country. What would you want to say to Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and TK Nkwana / Thabo? What would you want to say?
I want to tell them that this is not the death of Dr. Pashy Foundation and the good work that it has done. This is not the miscarriage of the Power Woman organization and the plans that I had originally had to do with the organization. But it is the rebirth of Dr. Pashy, the next chapter of my life. I call it the Dr. Pashy Reloaded. And I want to say to them that, like, why? Like, why? How could they do that? How can they lie to me? How can they do that to bodies? How do you, like what happened with Katla Bereng, I cry. I think of that guy and I cry all the time that, we still don't know how he died, but we know they have violated his body. It's painful, it's so painful. And with what could have happened to me, it's painful. Like, what were they thinking? What was inside their hearts? What was inside their souls? I mean, this kind of darkness, I never knew or imagined that is humanly possible. Like, and why me?
And obviously you want justice because you've opened up a case.
Of course I want justice, not only for me, and for other people who have been scammed by them and are afraid to come out, especially.
Are there people who have been scammed and are afraid to come out?
Of course they are.
Okay.
Doctors as well. I'm not the only doctor, but people cannot come out because of what has happened to me, because I received that digital mob justice. Nobody wants that for themselves. They rather stay in their corner and just recover and cry in their corner.
That exclusive interview between senior reporter Chriselda Lewis and Dr Pashy. Again, perhaps offering more perspective or pieces of the puzzle as we unpack the latest in the Thabo Best case and perhaps what's unfolding there. That escape case of Thabo Best, again, a hot topic in the media. Lots of questions at this answers. Again, thank you to Chriselda for that exclusive interview and for sharing that conversation. Continues as we continue with more news at this hour. We're going to hand over to my colleagues at the Full View desk. Francis Hurd is standing by. But from myself, Lisa Wilson, and the rest of the team, until next time, it's goodbye for now.